They fired me like I was a burden. No warning, no explanation that made sense. Just a cold HR rep and a line about restructuring. After 12 years of loyalty, they gave me 10 minutes to pack up my life in a cardboard box. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just walked out, silent, hollow. But as I sat in my car, staring through the windshield, one memory came back with crystal clarity. A name, a startup, and a signature I hadn't thought about in years. That's when I realized. They didn't know what I knew, and I wasn't done yet. Before we dive in, where are you listening from? And what time is it for you right now? Drop a comment below. I read everyone. I arrived early. My name's Jack Renshaw. I'm 44 years old, Midwestern born and bred, now living out in North Carolina. I've never been the loudest guy in the room, never cared about climbing ladders or schmoozing executives. I just liked building things, systems, teams, solutions that worked. That's always been enough for me. I started with that company back when they barely had 2 nickels to rub together. I stayed when the money came, and I stayed when the culture changed. I survived 4 rounds of layoffs. I worked weekends, missed my daughter's school plays. I gave them my loyalty, my time, my life. So when they called me into that tiny meeting room and handed me my walking papers, something broke. Not in a loud, angry way, but like a quiet snap inside your chest. Damon Keller, the CEO, couldn't even look me in the eye. He said it was business. I wanted to laugh. I was the one who saved his ass last quarter. But that didn't matter. Not anymore. I went home that day and sat in the garage for almost an hour, just breathing, letting the weight of it settle in. And then, without even thinking, I went to the safe in the hall closet. I hadn't opened it in over a year. Inside was a folder, yellowed a bit at the edges, labeled in my handwriting. It held the paperwork from an angel investment I made 4 years back into a small AI logistics startup a few friends from college were building. I never told anyone. It was a quiet bet. I never expected it to go anywhere. But it had. And just last week, I overheard Damon on the phone talking about acquiring a new AI firm. Same sector, same model, same startup. I stared at that folder for a long time. And then I smiled. That smile didn't come from spite. Not at first. It came from clarity. From remembering that I wasn't powerless, even if they tried to make me feel that way. I slid the folder out of the safe and opened it on the kitchen table like it was a map to something long forgotten. There it was, right where I left it. A signed term sheet, the LLC docs, a modest wire receipt. $30,000 from my savings at the time. I'd invested early when my old college roommate Sam called me out of the blue with an idea and a prototype. They were nobodies then, just 3 guys working out of a converted garage in Austin. But I liked the idea. I believed in them. And more than anything, I believed in people who weren't afraid to build something from nothing. I kept in touch with Sam here and there over the years, mostly short texts and the occasional holiday email. I knew they'd grown. I knew they were gaining traction. What I didn't know, until I looked them up again that night, was just how far they'd come. They'd landed 2 government contracts, filed 3 patents, and last month they got featured in a tech journal I used to read on my lunch break. The article even mentioned interest from major enterprise buyers. My stomach twisted when I saw the name Damon Keller listed in the quote. So Damon wanted them, wanted what they'd built, what I had quietly helped fund. He probably didn't even realize I was involved. Not many people did. I never advertised it. My name wasn't on the public filings, but I owned 8%. A silent partner, sure, but legally still a partner, which meant I had a say in any acquisition offer. I knew Damon. I knew how he operated. He was a shark in a suit. Charming to the board, ruthless with the staff. If he got his hands on this startup, he'd strip it for parts and sell it again in 18 months. He didn't care about the mission. He cared about the flip. And I wasn't going to let him win, not this time. I picked up my phone and scrolled through old contacts until I found Sam's number. My thumb hovered over the screen. It had been a while since we talked, but this wasn't about nostalgia. This was business now. I tapped call. He picked up on the second ring. "Jack, holy hell, been a minute." "Yeah," I said, my voice steady for the first time all day. "Got a few things I think we should talk about." Because now it wasn't just personal, it was strategic. And Damon was about to learn that you never throw someone away without checking what kind of power they're holding behind the curtain. Sam didn't miss a beat. He always had that energy, like he'd just downed a double espresso and had 3 ideas at once. "Man, I was just thinking about you the other day," he said. "We're about to hit a crazy pivot point. You saw the article?" "I saw it," I said, "and I saw the name Damon Keller." There was a pause on the line, not long, but enough. Sam's voice dropped half an octave. "Yeah, his team reached out 2 weeks ago. They're sniffing around hard. Due diligence type stuff. One of his people tried to cozy up to our COO last week at a conference." My jaw clenched. That was Damon, all right. Send in the suits to butter you up before the acquisition hammer falls. "You considering it?" Sam gave a low laugh. "Not seriously. His offer came in lower than we expected. We're not desperate for cash. And honestly, guy gives me weird vibes. Reminds me of those recruiters from college who wore $1,000 watches and couldn't explain what they actually did." "Trust that instinct," I said. "I know him. Worked under him for years. He's not in it to build anything. He's just flipping whatever still has legs." There was another pause. I could hear Sam thinking. "You still have your equity?" 8%, I said. "Quiet stake. Still valid, far as I know." "That's more than our current CTO," Sam said with a chuckle. "You always were the smart one. So what's this call really about, Jack?" I looked out the kitchen window at the darkening sky. It felt like everything in my life had changed in 24 hours, but maybe this part had been coming for a long time. "They fired me today. Damon, no warning, after 12 years. Sam swore under his breath. "You're kidding." "Nope. Cleaned out my desk like a criminal. And now he's trying to buy into the one thing I still have a piece of. I won't let him wreck it, Sam. Not if I can help it." Sam was quiet for a few seconds. Then he said something I hadn't expected. "Come down here. Spend a few days with us. Meet the team again. Let's figure this out together." I blinked. "Seriously?" "Hell yeah, you believed in us when no one else did. You're part of this, Jack, whether your name's on the door or not. And if Damon's circling, we're going to need people we can trust. You in?" That moment, right there, that was the first time in years I felt wanted. Not just tolerated or used, but actually valued. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "Yeah," I said quietly. "I'm in." I booked a flight for the next morning, and for the first time in over a decade, I wasn't looking back. By the time Damon walked into the conference room, I was already seated at the table across from Sam and his co-founders. The look on his face when he saw me was worth every sleepless night he'd caused me over the years. His eyes narrowed, jaw tightened, but he masked it quickly with that corporate charm he leaned on when things got slippery. "Jack," he said, flat and cautious. "Didn't expect to see you here." "I'm sure you didn't," I said evenly. He gave a tight smile and turned to Sam. "I wasn't aware Jack had any formal involvement with your company." "He's been with us since the beginning," Sam replied. "Original investor, active again as of last week." That was the first punch. Damon blinked, then tried to hide the sting. "Well, I'm here to talk business, nothing personal." It was always personal with Damon, and we both knew it. He launched into his pitch, polished, confident, full of buzzwords. Promised growth, infrastructure, resources. Said he'd take the company to the next level, like they were some indie band waiting for a record deal. But he didn't talk about the product. He didn't ask a single question about the technology or the people who built it, just spreadsheets and exits. When he was done, Sam leaned back in his chair and looked at me. I spoke calmly, clearly. Let me guess. Your plan is to acquire the IP, fold it into your logistics platform, downsize the team, and resell the whole thing to a multinational in 18 months? Damon didn't answer. He didn't have to. We'd both seen this game before. He was just repeating the same blueprint he'd used for years. Gut the soul of something good, turn it into a sterile product, and move on to the next. I leaned forward. You fired me 3 weeks ago, Damon. No notice. No thanks. You didn't even remember the work I did on the core infrastructure you're still profiting from. And now here you are, trying to put your fingerprints on something you don't understand. The room went still. I'd advise against pursuing this acquisition, I said. Because not only am I part owner, I've already informed the board that I'll vote against it, and I'm not alone. Damon's jaw clenched. You're throwing away growth, exposure. No, Sam said, his voice firm. We're protecting what we built, and we're not for sale. Damon stood. You'll regret this. I already did, I said, meeting his eyes. But not anymore. He left without another word. As the door clicked shut behind him, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Real peace. Not because I'd hurt him, but because I'd finally stood up for something I believed in. In the weeks that followed, the startup shifted into a new gear. Sam and the team officially invited me on as an advisor, part-time at first, just to help them navigate the sudden wave of attention that came after we rejected Damon's offer. Word got around in our corner of the tech world that we'd turned down a major buyer, and instead of closing doors, it opened new ones. Ethical investors started reaching out. Industry partners who'd stayed quiet before started expressing serious interest, not in acquiring but collaborating. It was exactly what we'd hoped for. Momentum without compromise. I moved into a small apartment just outside Austin. Nothing fancy. Just enough space for me and the dog I'd finally had time to adopt. I set up a home office, worked from the balcony when the weather was good, and found a rhythm that didn't involve 3 a.m. crisis calls or walking on eggshells around power-drunk executives. Every once in a while, I'd see Damon's name pop up in industry news. He was trying to pivot, to spin the failed acquisition into a strategic withdrawal, but people weren't buying it. The board at his firm started asking questions. Some of the people he'd steamrolled over the years weren't so silent anymore. In the world he built, one where reputations moved faster than product launches, his edge was slipping. I didn't celebrate that. Not exactly. Revenge wasn't the fuel I wanted to run on anymore. But there was something deeply satisfying in knowing he couldn't touch what we'd built. That I hadn't just survived him. I'd outgrown him. One afternoon, months later, I got a call from Sam. We just closed the Series B, he said. We're expanding. Gonna need someone steady to help scale the ops team. You ready to come back full-time? I didn't even hesitate. Yeah, I'm ready. And I was. Not just because I had a new title or stock that was finally worth something, but because, for the first time in a long time, I was working with people who saw me, respected me, wanted to build, not just extract. They say the best revenge is living well. I think the best revenge is leading well, and making damn sure the people like Damon never get to hold the steering wheel again. Because the truth is, I didn't just get fired. I got free. And all it took was one call.